cursor data, how to close the cursor data. Now I'll take a similar kind of example, but I want to manipulate the database table entries without using what cursors. Okay, just by using what a normal looping statement, I want to update the database table entries, that is without using what cursors. Yesterday we have seen with cursors. Okay, so for that yeah, I'll create one table. Yeah, I'll create one table for that. First, let me open the SQL console. Set the schema for the session. Right, so schema is set for the session. I'll quickly create one table. I'll be using this table for the other examples also. Yeah, yeah, I'll give the table name as something E underscore department. As part of this table, I'll take some columns. Employee number int. I'll take it as primary key. Employee name, varchar of 20. Then department number. I'll give the department number as something integer. Then let me give another column like salary. Okay, I'll give it as decimal. Okay, decimal, just like we have packed data type in ABAP. When do we go for packed data type? When you want to store any decimal values, we'll go for what? Packed data type. So here also we have what? A decimal data type. So I'll say decimal something 12 comma 2. Okay, a decimal 14 comma 2. So what is the meaning of that? We are reserving two spaces, two decimal values. Okay, commission also, let me take it as a decimal. I'll take it as something 7 comma 2. That's all. So we have created the table with what? 5 columns. Let me execute this. I'll select the block, press F8. The table got created. The table got created.
This conference is no longer being recorded. This conference will now be recorded.
Right. So now let me quickly maintain the data in this table. So already we know that. So I'll take the insert statement, insert into, what is the table name? E underscore department values. Okay, E underscore department values. Acha. I want to do like this. I want to maintain the data only for 4 columns: employee number, employee name, department number, and salary. I don't want to maintain the data for commission. So if you are not going to maintain the data for all the columns, you have to mention the column names. For which columns you want? I want it for employee number. Then let me maintain for employee name, then department number, and then what? Salary. Done. I'll say values. I'll give some data here. 1 Ravi 1. I'll give some department number and some salary. I'll give 1000. Done. Yeah, like this. Assume that this is the data. One more record I'll maintain. One second, please. One second, please. So one of the participants is calling me. Just a minute. Yeah. So these are the values. I'll give different department numbers. 20, 30. Right. So assume that this is the data available. 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, 8 and 9. Okay, so I'm maintaining the data only for what? Some 4 columns. So F8, done. Okay, so I maintain the data for the 4 columns. Right. So if you see the table here, let me refresh. E underscore department is a table. If you query the data, yeah, you can observe here, we are having the data only for what? 4 columns. I don't have the data for commission. So what is my requirement now? I want to create a procedure. Okay, I want to create a procedure. I want to update the what commission column. Okay, based on the department number. Means if the department number is 10, commission should be 10% of the salary. If the department number is 20, commission should be 20% of the salary. If it is other than 10 and 20, I should give what 30% of the salary as what commission. So yesterday we have achieved this similar kind of thing. We have achieved this by using what cursors. Okay. No, without using cursors, I want to do that. Without using the cursors, I'll use only the normal looping statement. Okay. So as of now, we don't have any data for the commission. So let me create the procedure. So create procedure. Okay, I'll give the procedure name as update underscore commission. Okay, assume that this is your procedure name, and for this procedure, I'll not pass any parameters. So I'll just say as begin, and I'll declare some variables. Yeah, I'll declare some variables like data, v underscore employee number. Okay, v underscore employee number integer. Then declare v underscore. I want it based on department number, na. So I'll declare another variable v underscore department number integer and salary also, right? So I'll say declare v underscore salary. Some local variables I'm declaring. Let me give it as something decimal of something 14 comma 2, right? And then yeah, I'll take one variable for the count also. Data v underscore count integer. Okay, then I'll take another variable v underscore what loop count. This also I'll take it as what integer. So I declare overall 5 local variables. There were 5 local variables. Yeah, I'll take another field for commission also. Another variable for commission. So I'll say declare v underscore commission. Let me give it as v underscore commission. What is this? Decimal of what? 7 comma 2. Yeah. 7 comma 2. That's it. Okay, so yesterday what we have done, uh, yesterday first we have declared the cursor. At the time of declaring the cursor, we have associated what? Select query. Then we have opened the cursor. We understood that whenever we open the cursor, the select statement associated with the cursor will be processed, and the data we call it as what? Result set, and that data will come and sit in the cursor. We are using loop and loop, and we are reading each record of the cursor by using what? Fetch statement. So here I don't want to use any cursor, so what I'll do is, let me say like this: I tab is equal to, okay, I'll declare one variable I tab equal to, let me get the data. Select what are the columns I want to get from the table. Employee number I want to get. Then I don't require employee name. I'll take a department number. Then I'll take salary. And what is the other column? Commission. Okay, select employee number, department number, salary, salary and commission, done, from the table name. What is the table name? E underscore department. So whatever the data is there in the table, that data will be written to what? I tab. This I tab, we have not done any prior declaration. So this will be dynamically declared. How many columns will be there in this I tab? 4 columns, because we are fetching what? 4 columns. With those 4 columns, the internal table will be declared, and the data retrieved will come and sit in this particular internal table. So I need not do any prior declaration. Now what I'll do, I want to count the number of records in the internal table. So I'll say select. How do you count? We have some aggregate functions, like count is one of the aggregate function. Select count of star. Okay, select count of star into what is the variable I declared? V underscore count. V underscore count from the internal table, from I tab. Done. Okay, select count of star into V underscore count from I tab. So I'll get the count. Now what I'll do, if what? V underscore count is what? Not equal to 0. Okay, if it is not equal to 0, then only I have to enter the block. Okay, if it is not equal to 0, means if you are having the data in that, initially count would be by default what? 0. So if it is not equal to 0, then it will enter the block. So I need to process from what? First record of the internal table to last record of the internal table. So I'll use, yesterday we have used this loop and what? End loop. But yesterday, inside loop and loop, we were what? Reading the cursor data by using what? Fetch statement. Here I have not declared any cursor. So what I'll do is, between loop and loop. Okay, so if you take our normal ABAP syntax, when you say loop at internal table and end loop, what happens? Each record will be populated from body of the internal table to what? Header of the internal table. Each record will be populated from body of the internal table to header of the internal table. Okay, so I'm saying loop and loop, done. Yeah, here I'll say select, loop and loop. So in case of a normal ABAP syntax, we would say what? Loop at what? I tab. So what this will do, it will read each record from body to what? Header. But here I cannot use that syntax. So here I'll say loop and normal end loop. So each record I have to read from this internal table. And each record contains how many columns? 4 columns. Employee number, department number, salary and what? Commission. So what I'll do is, select, try to understand this. Select what are the columns? Employee number, what else? Department number and salary. Select employee number, department number, salary, comma, what is this? Commission. I'm selecting 4 columns. Let me select these 4 columns into my 4 local variables. What are the 4 local variables I declared? Into V underscore what? Employee number. What else? V underscore department number, V underscore salary, V underscore commission, V underscore commission from internal table, from itab. So at a time, what I have to do? Yeah, at a time I have to read only one record, one record. So I'll say limit. There's a new syntax. Limit to one. Limit to one. Okay. Acha. So I'll do one thing. One small change I'll do for easy understanding. I declared one variable v underscore loop count. Na? V underscore loop count int. Okay, I'll initialize it to 0. By default, I'm initializing it to what? 0. Okay, loop count integer is equal to 0. Done. Now what I'll do? Yeah, limit 1. I'll say offset. What is that variable? V underscore loop count. So what is the meaning of that? From the internal table, I'm telling SAP to read only what? One record. Okay, from the internal table, we are telling to read only one record. Which record it has to read? Depending on the index position. Offset V underscore loop count, I said. What is the initial value of loop count? 0. So here, the index starts from what? 0. In our normal ABAP, the index of the internal table starts from what? 1. But whereas in case of HANA database, the index of the local internal table starts from what? 0. And I believe in case of our normal ABAP, we cannot use select query on the internal table. We can use select query only on the database table or on the database views. Database table or database views. Here I am using it on what? Internal table. And each time I want to retrieve only one record. Limit 1, offset the index position. What is the default value of the loop count? 0. Done. So I may get the first record into this particular local variable. Okay, I'll get the first record into the local variable. Done. Now I'll say, yeah. So what is my requirement now? Based on the department number, okay, based on the department number, I need to update the commission. So what I'll do, if what is a variable which is holding the department number here, v underscore department number. If v underscore department number equal to 10, right, equal to 10, then yesterday we have not used this syntax. Inside loop and loop, we are using the fetch statement. Fetch statement I can use only on the cursors. Here I don't have cursor. That's the reason I'm using the select query on the internal table. And when I'm using the select query, I'm instructing the HANA database to read only one record at a time based on the index position. So if department number equal to 10, yeah, this is understood. What is the variable I declared for commission? V underscore commission. So if department number equal to 10, I'll say V underscore commission is equal to V underscore commission is equal to what is that? I want to set the commission as 10%. So based on the salary, what is the variable which is holding the salary? V underscore salary. So V underscore commission is equal to V underscore salary into 10 by 100. Done. Then else if V underscore department number equal to 20, then I'll say what? V underscore commission is equal to I want to set the commission as 20%. V underscore salary into 20 by 100. Done. Then else, if it is other than 10 and 20, let us set the commission as 30%. V underscore commission is equal to what? V underscore salary into 30 by what? 100. Done. End for if we got end if. End if done, if end if done. I need to update my what? I need to update the database table. So I'll say update. What is the base table? Database table E underscore department. Update E underscore department. Set what is the column in the table? Commission. Set commission equal to the commission which you have calculated. V underscore commission. If I leave it like this, again, it will update all the records. I have to update based on the key field. What is the key field in the table? employee number, primary key. So where employee number is equal to, already we have populated the employee number into the local variable. No? Yeah, where employee number equal to, what is this? V underscore employee number. V underscore employee number, done. Done. Yeah. Now here you are reading the data from the internal based on loop code. Na? So I need to increment that. So I'll say here after updating, I'll say V underscore loop count is equal to, I'll increment by 1. V underscore loop count plus 1. That's it. End loop, end if, and end for procedure is what? End. End for begin is end. Done. Is it valid or anything else I need to do? Yeah, I'll explain, Amit. I'll explain. Yeah, this will go for infinite loop. Yes, Sandeep, correct. So here we did one mistake. We are reading the select. We are using the select statement on the internal table. So I have to prefix that into with what? Column. I have to prefix that internal table with column. Okay. Here also I need to prefix with what? Column. Anything else? There should be some exit condition. Na? There should be some exit condition. Yesterday what we did, we are using one of the property, one of the attribute of what? Cursor. What is that? No count. If the fetch is failed, we are using the attribute what? No count. Okay, if it is no count, then what you are doing, we are using what? Break statement. Here also, what I need to do, once I finish the processing of the whole internal table, I need to come out of the loop. If you don't write the exit condition, it will go for what? Infinite loop. So what I'll do somewhere at the beginning only here. Yeah, we have this count variable. No? Yeah, I'll say, yeah, here I'll say if what is the variable? V underscore count is, if V underscore count is less than or equal to loop count, V underscore loop count, then I'll say what? Break. Break will come out of the looping statement. If I don't use a break statement, it will go for what? Infinite loop. And if, yeah, let me cross check this. So try to understand those who are joined late. We have created the table with some 5 columns: employee number, employee name, department number, salary, and what? A commission. Then we have maintained the data for all the columns except what? Commission. We have inserted the data into the table by providing the data for employee number, employee name, department number, and salary. There is no data for what? Commission. So as of now, the table entries are like this. We are having 5 columns, but we have the data only for what? 4 columns. Commission, I don't have anything. I don't have anything. So what was the requirement? I need to what? Update this particular table. What is that updation? We need to set the data for the commission. Commission is based on what? A department number. Okay, wherever the department number is 10, I need to set the commission as what? 10% of salary. 20 means 20% of salary. Other than 10 and 20, what? 30% of the salary. So we can do it by using what? Procedure using what? Cursors. Yesterday we have done it. Now I am using what? Procedures, but without using what? Cursors. So what I did here, I declared some local variables. Then whatever the data is there in my database table, I am reading the data into my local internal table. I need not do any prior declaration for the internal table. So what is the structure of this internal table? It depends upon the number of columns we are fetching from what? The data in the select statement. We are fetching what? 4 columns. So dynamically an internal table will be created with what? 4 columns. Then what I am doing? I am counting the number of records in the internal table. So I am using the aggregate function on top of the internal table. Whatever the count is there, I am storing that in the local variable. Then if the count is not equal to 0, means if you have at least 1 record, it will enter the if block. We don't know how many records are there in the internal table. So I'm using what? Loop and what? End loop. Yeah, inside this loop and loop, what is the agenda? I have to check each record of the internal table. Na? I have to check each record of the internal table. So in our application server, if you take our normal reporting in ABAP, what we will do, we'll fetch the data into the internal table and we can use the read statement. We can use the read statement, or if I use a loop and loop, automatically each record will come to what work area. But here I'm not using loop at iTab. I cannot use that syntax here. I cannot use that syntax here. So what I am doing here, I am using loop and loop, which is supported in the HANA database. So here I want to read one record. Each time I want to read one record of the internal table. So I am trying to read this 4 columns into my 4 local variables from the internal table. Limit 1 means what? Limit 1 means read only one record at a time. Which record it has to read? The current record. How do we refer to the current record? Based on the index position. What is the initial value of loop count I gave? I gave it as what? 0. So in HANA database, the index of the internal table starts somewhat 0. So offset what? Initial value of loop count is what? 0. Offset to 0 means the first record of the internal table. The index position is what? 0. I am reading that into the local variables. Then I am checking. If the department number equal 10, calculate the commission for 10% of salary. 20 means 20% of salary. Other than 10 and 20, 30% of salary. After doing the calculation for commission, what is the agenda? I need to update our database table. So I'm using the update statement. When you're updating, ensure that only a particular record is updated. How do we ensure that? By comparing with the primary key. So anyway, we are populating the employee number also, which is the primary key into the local variable. So I'm comparing based on that employee number. Then each time I'm incrementing the count with what? 1. So since it's a looping statement, automatically control goes here. Now what you are doing? We are saying select iTab limit 1. Again we are reading one record. What is the value of offset now? 1. 0 plus 1. We are incrementing the loop count variable with 1. So we are saying offset 1 means the second record. Like that, we are keeping on reading this. And what is the exit condition I give? The moment count value is less than what? Less than loop count. Okay, I am saying what? Break. Break will come out of what? The current looping state. That's it. Amit, hope you understood. Offset means the which record you want to read, the index position in the internal table. Okay, yeah. So let me try to execute this procedure. Select that block. I'll try to execute. F8. Oh, I got an error. I got an error. Where I got the error? SQL syntax error. What is the error here? Incorrect syntax near v underscore loop on line 22. In the line 22, I am having the issue. Where is the issue? Line 22. Incorrect syntax near v underscore loop count. 22nd line it seems. So if you count here, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Here only. What is the issue here? In the select query, select employee number, department number, salary, commission into what? V underscore employee number, V underscore department number, salary, commission from what? I tab, limit 1, offset what? V underscore loop count. Here it is giving the error. Why? Okay, in the select statement, I'm referring to that variable. Na? Might be. Here also I need to use that bind option, colon. Let me check. Okay. I don't require it here, but might be in the select statement. Just like for internal level also, we are prefixing with colon. This local variable also here, I need to prefix with colon. Let me check. Re-execute this. F8. No, again I got the error. Line 29. Line 29. So this is 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. Yeah. End if, I think we have to give space here. Na? For end if, you have to give space. Okay, so that's the issue. F8, done. The procedure is successfully created. So we had some syntax error, we have rectified that. So if I refresh this procedure section, what is the procedure name? Update underscore commission. Yeah, you can see the procedure got created. Update underscore commission. Update underscore commission. Done. So now what you have to do? We need to call the procedure. Okay, as of now, this is my table data. There is no data maintained for the commission column. Now I need to call the procedure, just like we call a subroutine by using perform statement. Just like we call a function model, call function. Method, call method. Here you have to call the procedure by using what? Call statement. What is the procedure name? Update underscore commission. And my procedure doesn't have any parameters. So since it doesn't have any parameters, I'll pass a blank parenthesis. Yeah, I'm just calling the procedure. I'll say F8. Done. It might have updated. Successfully executed. I said F8 here. It means successfully executed. Go and check the table. Refresh. F5. Yeah, I got the commission data. Done. 1000. Yeah, department number 10, 10%. Yes. Department number 20, 20%. Yes, I got 400. Department number 30, 30%. I got 900. So working fine. So here, this updation is not important, but we are trying to understand.
Okay.
Okay. So we understood the syntax of this loop and the simple understanding. You need not remember those things. Everywhere you can use colon. Here also I can use colon. No problem. Select query is mandatory. Other areas is not required, but in select queries, it is mandatory. You have to give that prefix or internal table with colon. And for this syntax also you have to use. Here also, if you want to use colon, you can use, but not required, not mandatory. Here also I can say into colon v underscore employee number, colon v underscore deployee number, no problem. Here also I can use. Here also v underscore loop count is equal to colon v underscore loop count plus. Everywhere I can use colon. Okay, but not required. But in the select query, it is mandatory. See, that comes only by practice. Okay, these are called as transition variables. They are called as transition variables. Okay. Yeah. Now let me open the definition of this table. What is the table I created? E underscore department. Where is that? Yeah, E underscore department. So if you open the definition of the table, it has got some 5 columns. Done. Okay, what is the type of table? Column store is the type of the table. Okay. Now what I'll do is, yeah, I want to create a table type. I want to create the table type. Okay. One second. Let me take a simple table. Yes. Okay, done. I'll take this table. Since of this table, I'll take the other table. Yeah, see here. Might be in 3-4 days back we have created this table. So we have a table called what EMP trigger. Try to understand. What is the definition of this table? I mean to say, what are the column names of this table? Employee number, EMP number, integer. Try to understand. EMP number, integer, ename, varchar. Okay, what is the type of the table? Column store. Now what I'll do is, I'll try to create something called as table type. I want to create the table type. So already we know table type in our ABAP also. No? A table type is like a internal table structure. It's an internal table structure created at what database level. So here also I'll try to create a table type with these two columns. But wantedly what I'll do is here in the table, what are the column names? EMP number and ename. EMP number and name. In the table type, I'll give the column names as EMP number and EMP name. Here in the table, the column name is ename, but in the table type, I'll give it as EMP name. Let's see how it will give error. Okay, so based on this table only, I want to create. Means I want to keep this table in mind. I want to create that. So this table type we can create both by using UI as well as by using what SQL statement. I repeat, table type I can create both by using UI as well as what by using what SQL statement. So let me create that. How do you create the table type in HANA database? Here in the table section, first I'm creating using UI. I'll right click on the table. EMP trigger. Okay. Yeah, EMP trigger. So what I'll do is right click on the table, say new table. Okay, new table. Provide the table name. I'll give some name. Let me give it as, what shall I give? Table type now. Okay, TTEMP. Some name I'm giving. What is the name I'm giving? TTEMP. I don't want to create this as a database table. I want to create it as what? Table type. So what I'll do, you can see right hand side, it is asking the type here. But we have column store table and what? Row store table. Column store table and row store table. We have not yet discussed what is the exact difference between row store and column store, but what we understood so far is the other databases supports only what? Row store table, whereas HANA database supports both row store as well as column store. So this row store or column store nothing but database tables. What I'll do now in the type, I'll choose what? Table type. I'll choose a type as a table type in the right hand corner. I'll give the column names. What is the first column in the table? EMP number. Na? Here also, I'll give the same EMP number. Done. Yeah, I'll give it as integer. Now the next column in the table, what is the next column here? Ename. But here in the table type, wantedly I'll give it as EMP name. Actually, there is no link between this table type and the database table, but just keep the table in mind. EMP name. Let me give it as varchar2 of what? Something 20. Okay, varchar of 20. Done. That's all. Yeah, I created the table type. What is the table type name? TTEMP. Let me try to execute. How do we execute? On the right hand corner, we have the execute button, or I can press F8. When I click on this, yes, the table type got created. Where I can see that the table type, if it is a database table, I can see it in the table section. Okay, if I refresh here, I'll right click on the table, I'll say refresh. Yeah, what is the table type? TTMP. Can we see the TTMP here? No, I am unable to see that TTMP here. Let me go to procedure section. In the procedure section, we have what? Table types. It is not showing up. Okay, might be I need to refresh. Right click on this, I'll say refresh. Yeah, now it is showing. Understood? In the procedures node, under table types, we are able to see that. So we have created a table type. As of now, there is no link between this table type TTEMP and this database table. What is the difference between a database table and table type? Database table is the one which stores the data permanently. Inside the table, we can store the data. Whereas table type will only provide the structure. Now what I want is, I want to refer to this particular table type. I want to refer to this table type in my procedure. So my requirement is, I want to create a procedure which has to return the data from this table. What is the table? EMP trigger. Try to understand. I want to create a procedure which has to return the data from this particular table. It has to return the data from this table. I want to receive the data in a output parameter. So what we can do, I can create a procedure with one output parameter, and that output parameter reference I can refer to what? This particular database table. But already we know how to refer to the database table. But instead of referring to the database table, I'll try to refer to a table type. Okay? Because anyhow my database table is having how many columns? 2 columns. My table type is also having 2 columns. But the change is, in my database table, the column name is ename. In the table type, the column name is emp name. So I want to check the compatibility. So let me create one procedure. The procedure has to return the data from this table. But do we have data in this table? What is the table? EMP trigger. Let me right click on this. I'll say open data preview. Yeah, data is there, no problem. So let me try to create the procedure. So what I want to show is inside the procedure, so far we are referring to what? Some normal data types, and we are referring to the database tables. Now I want to refer to a table type. So create procedure. Okay, create procedure. I'll give the read data underscore t type. Some name I'll give. Read data underscore t type. So I want to return the data from this procedure. How do you return? By using what? Output parameter. Out. I'll give the parameter name as iTab. You can give any name. You can give any name. Let me give a meaningful name. I'll give it as iTab. So far, we are referring to either to what? The standard data types, or we are referring to what? Database table. Yesterday we referred to the database table, I think, or day before yesterday. Here what I'll do, out iTab, I'll try to refer to my table type. What is my table type name? TTEMP is a table type name. TTEMP is a table type name. So I'll say TTEMP. So I'm not telling whether this is a database table, whether it is a table type. It will automatically check. First, will check for any database table. If the database table is there with that, it will refer to that. Otherwise, we'll check for what? Table type. In our case, it is table type. Done. As begin. As begin. So what is the agenda? I have to return the data into this internal table. No? So iTab is equal to, what is this? Select star from. Select star from. What is the table name? EMP trigger. Yes, select star from EMP trigger. Done. End. Yeah. So what I am trying to show here is my output parameter is referring to the table type, which has got how many columns? 2 columns. What are they? EMP number and what? EMP name. EMP number and EMP name. But in the body of the procedure, I am getting the data from a table which also has got 2 columns. But here the column names are what? EMP number and what? E name. So this is very much supported in our normal ABAP reporting. Because in a normal ABAP reporting, I believe it will not check for the field names. It will check for the number of fields in the data types. Okay, it will not check for the field names. But here, let's see what happens. So here my iTab, which is nothing but referring to table type, it has got 2 columns. Here also we are returning 2 columns, but the column names are different. Here the table, the column name is ename. In the output parameter, the column name is EMP name. Let me check what happens. So I'm expecting an error. When I'm trying to create this procedure, I should get an error. I'll say F8. Good. What is the error I got? Return type mismatch. See the error message. Return type mismatch, procedure so and so, attribute name, EMP name, different from what? Attribute name, E name. Good. Okay. This is very much supported in normal ABAP. But whereas here, it also checks for the field names. I mean to say attribute names. Am I clear to everyone? Hope it's clear to everyone. So what is the thing you have to understand here? In my procedure, as part of that parameter list, I can also refer to what? Table type. I can also refer to table type. Okay, and ensure that the return type attribute names and the fields you are fetching are what? The names are what? Same. Otherwise, you'll give what? The syntax error. Return type mismatch. So what is that solution now? I'll try to create one more table type. with the same names as that of the database table. Anyhow, we have seen how to create the table type using UI. Using UI. Now I want to create a table type using what? SQL statement. So before I continue, any questions here? So what I'll do now, I'll try to create the table type using what? SQL statement. And in that, what I'll do, I need to ensure that I'll have the same column names. What are the column names here? EMP number and what? E-name. So let me try to create using SQL statement. How do you create the table type using SQL statement? Create. If it is a database table, we used to say what? Create table. Now here I have to say create a type. Create a type. What is the table type I give? TTEMP. Na? This I'll give it as TT underscore EMP. TT underscore EMP as a table. This is the syntax for that. Create type so and so as a table. Then here I'll say, yeah, what is that? Employee number only, na? Yeah, employee number also what? Integer. What else? Employee name, worker or something 20. Done. Closes. Let me try to execute this. The syntax is correct. Create type name as table. That's all. Done. Let me execute. I'll say F8. Yeah, the table type got created. Where I can cross check in the procedure section. Yeah, let me refresh this. I'm refreshing. Yeah, what is the table type name? TT underscore what? EMP. TT underscore EMP. Next, I'll try to execute this procedure once again. Earlier I got the error, na? So let me try to execute. I can directly execute there, but again I'm copying here. I can directly execute there only. Same thing. So here also output parameter I need to refer to what? My table type. What is my table type now? TT underscore what? EMP. Right? Select star from so and so. Done. Okay. Let me check now. F8. Yeah. The procedure is successfully created. What is the procedure name? Read data underscore T type. Let me try to call what is that? Read data underscore table type. I don't have, sorry. If I give like this, obviously I should get an error, na? Because my procedure is having what? One output parameter. We already understood that in HANA database, output parameters are also what? Mandatory. But if you take our function models or methods, the export parameters are always optional. If you are interested, we can import, otherwise we can ignore. But whereas here, output parameters are mandatory, I am not receiving it. So when I say F8, I got an error. What is the error I got? Wrong number or types of parameter in the call. iTab is not bound. What is the output parameter name there? iTab. So it is saying that it is not bound. So this is giving me what? Error. Okay. So here also I got an error. Na? So let me comment it for your reference. Error, why it is error? As attribute name in table type and what? Database table are not same. Okay. So let me try to call this procedure. Call what is this? Read data underscore T type. Sorry. Read data underscore T type. I have to give that placeholder. Na? How do you bound? By using what? Placeholder. F8. I got the data from that particular table. So here the data is not important, but what you have to focus here is, as part of my procedure parameters, I can also refer to what? Table type. I can also refer to the table type. And that table type, we can create both by using UI as well as by using what? SQL statement. So going forward, we will see many examples where we are going to refer to what? Table types. Because almost in every real-time scenario, we'll be using the table types only. We will not be referring to the database table. Simple understanding is, my database table will have what? Many columns. Suppose as of now we are creating the custom tables. Going forward, I'll take the standard tables like we have VBAK, VBAP kind of thing. Those tables has got hundreds of fields. So every time it doesn't make sense if you refer to the old table. So what we are going to do, we are going to create the table type with the required fields, based upon that particular tables, and we are going to refer to the table types as part of our procedures, functions, all those things. Any questions?
Questions, sir.
Yeah, Amit, tell me.
Yeah, sir, in normal ABAP, the way before writing any program, we create one program and save it in PR and do transport. And that program will be available in production, development quality production. So here, if I use this SQL, then it will be removed. Am I correct?
Sorry, can you repeat, Amit?
Sir, in normal ABAP, we are creating any, suppose we are writing any function model or program. We are creating in AC38, we are saving it whether it's local object or transport, means TR. So here, if I close this SQL, then it will be removed. Am I correct?
Okay. Yes, correct. So your question is,
then
how do you transport?
Yeah, you can say that. Yeah.
So
Yes.
going forward, we have a concept called as HTC, HANA Transport Container. By using this HTC, we are going to transport this database objects. Whatever we are discussing now is, they are database objects. Okay, these tables, sequences, procedures, indexes, whatever you are able to see here, all these are what? Database objects. Okay, so how do we transport these database objects? Means going forward, we have a concept of delivery unit and HTC. We need to assign this particular database object to the delivery unit, and by using that HTC, we can transfer the database objects from one system to another system. Okay. So for the timing, the answer is we can transport these database objects also. And how do we do that? Means by assigning this database objects to something called as delivery unit. Delivery unit you can assume like a package kind of thing. After assigning it to the delivery unit, in our normal ABAP we use transport organizer SC09, SC10 for doing the transportation. Here we use HTC concept, HANA Transport Container. By using that, we are going to do the transportation. Yeah, Vijay, even if there are multiple parameters also, we have to use placeholders. Refer to the first class of the procedure, I think 2 days back. We are having multiple output parameters. So I use what? Multiple placeholders like this. So if you have two output parameters, the first output parameter data will come and sit in the first placeholder. Second output parameter data will come and sit in the second placeholder. Understood? So compulsory, we need to bind all the parameters, whether they are input parameters or what? Output parameters. Amit, is your question is answered?
Yes.
Hello.
Yeah, Ashutosh.
Yeah, suppose in database table we have 10 columns, and in this
Table type
we are using only 5 columns. So in that case, we can use this.
Yes, why not? That's what I'm going to do going forward.
Yeah.
Assume that we have VBAK table which has got 200 columns. Okay, so in my reports, in most of the reports, I'm trying to get only 10 columns of that VBAK table. So what I'll do, I'll create the table type with those 10 columns, and in my select query, I'll not say star. I'll mention that column name so that it is compatible with your table type.
Okay,
Clear as
in that
such?
case, we need to give the all fields, yeah,
Column
in the
names.
select query.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
Na? Again, if you say select star, again it will get the syntax error because you are trying to fetch many columns, all columns, but your table type has got only specific columns. You will get syntax error.
Maybe corresponding is available. I hope that.
No. We should not use that. That is available in application. So forget about that coding.
Okay.
Understood? Again, if you use corresponding, which means what? You are telling SAP to execute that logic in the application server. Our agenda is what? You should not execute anything in the application server. Everything we have to execute at the HANA database level itself, so that we can make use of the features of what? HANA database, which will improve the performance of our applications.
Okay. So we need to use all kind of keywords. Like, can we use case statement within the loop, Sridhar?
Yes, but the syntax is slightly different. I'll frame an example tomorrow. We can use.
So instead of you used if statement, right? If statement, right? So instead of if statement, we can use also case statement.
Yes. Why not? Case department number when 10 do so and so, when 20 do so and so. Yes, we can. No problem.
But there is no. Is there any like database performance?
See, obviously, same understanding. If you go for if else if, what happens? It will check the first if condition. If that is not satisfied, it will check the second condition. If that is not satisfied, check the next condition. Means here all the conditions are checked one after the other till one of the conditions is satisfied. But the idea of case and case is what? Depending on that variable value, the control will directly jump to the appropriate when. So obviously, case and case is faster than what? If and if.
Fine. We'll try it.
Yeah. Anyhow, we'll see that. I'll frame that examples. In the next 2-3 days also, we'll see this process and functions only. There's something called as functions. Okay. We'll see what the difference between procedure and functions. There in some of the example, I'll cover that case and case also. Done? Yeah. I'll give an exercise. If you have time, we'll try to do R&D on that. Okay. Again, this is only based on the knowledge I am having on other databases. If you take Oracle database or SQL server database, okay, we have a concept called as percentage type declaration. When I say percentage type declaration, just observe here. I declare this variable here. I hard coded the data type. I hard coded the data type is what? Integer. But my requirement is I don't want to hard code this data type. Okay. This field should refer to the employee number field in my table E underscore department. Okay. So in Oracle database, if you know PLSQL, other things. Okay. There what I can do, I can say V underscore EMP number. What is the table name? E underscore department. Dot. What is the column we are referring? EMP number. Percentage type. This is called as percentage type declaration. This is very much supported in what? Oracle database. But I tried this syntax in HANA database, but this syntax is not supported. So you also do R&D, I'll also do R&D, but I'm not getting the solution. If you get, let me know. Okay, I repeat once again. Here I declare the variables by directly hard coding the data type. But I know that I am declaring this variable on behalf of employee number of what? E underscore department table. So instead of referring to the direct data type, normal ABAP we can refer to the data element, or I can say table name hyphen what? Field name. Table name hyphen field name. Similarly, in Oracle database, we have the concept of what? Percentage type declaration. Where this will automatically get the data type and size of this column, database column. It will assign to this variable. But this syntax is not supporting in HANA database. I checked in many documentation, many examples. Nowhere they are talking about percentage of declaration, but still I am doing R&D. If I get any inputs, I'll let you know. If you have time also, you do R&D. What is your agenda? You should not output the data type, but directly refer to the table column. So check if you have any solution for that. Hope it's clear to everyone. Okay, try to do R&D on this concept. I tried in many documentation, many examples, but nowhere they have referred to this concept. They are directly hard coding the data types. Okay, so check if it is possible in another database. If you get that, let me know. Done. So I'll wind up for today. We'll continue tomorrow with other examples on procedures and functions. Any other questions before I wind up? Chalo then. So winding up, we'll meet tomorrow.
This
Yeah, thanks,
conference is
everyone.
no longer being recorded.
As well as in the database table. So these 4 columns, I'll take it as it is. As part of table type, we don't have any primary key concept. So I'm just creating the normal columns: employee ID, employee name, department number, salary. Done. Okay. Apart from this, what you want? I want one additional column. What is the additional column? I want something tax. Okay. So let me create that. So I'll say tax. Let me give the tax as something decimal of something 8,2. That's all. So the structure of table type is different from what structure of what database table. Let me execute this. I'll say F8. Yeah, the table type got created. Okay, table type got created with how many columns? 5 columns. Done. Okay, so now let us create the procedure. Create procedure. Okay, I'll give the procedure name as something calculate tax. Calculate tax. So what is the requirement here? This procedure has to return me an internal table with which contains how many columns? 5 columns. So what I'll do? I'll take one output parameter which is referring to this particular table type. If I refer to the database table, it contains only 4 columns, but I want to return out 5 columns. Because of that reason only, I created our user-defined table type. So create the procedure so and so. As part of this procedure signature, I'll take one output parameter, out I tab. What is the table type name? TT underscore EMP underscore what? Department. TT underscore EMP underscore department as also what begin as begin. I tab is equal to, okay, I tab is equal to select what are the columns you want? EMP ID. Select EMP ID. What else? Employee name. Select EMP ID, employee name, and then what? Department number. What else? Salary. Department number, salary. Yeah. Next, I have to what? Calculate one additional column, na? Tax. This is not a database column. Database column is we'll get the data from the database table, but this is not a database column, so I need to calculate it. So yesterday we have seen how to use if and if. In the last 2 classes, we have seen the syntax of what? If and if. Now I want to use what? Case and case. I can use that case and case as part of select query only. See the new syntax. Here I will say select EMP ID, ename, department number, salary as part of my select query only. So I want to calculate the tax based on department number. Na? So I'll say case, try to understand. Case what? Department number. Case department number. Yeah, when what are the available departments in my table? 10, 20, 30. There are 3 different departments. Okay, so I'll say when 10. Okay, when 10, what I'll do then? Okay, the syntax is slightly different from a normal ABAP. Okay, when 10, then what I want to return the tax. Okay, so tax is calculated based on salary. So I'll say then salary into 0.10%, something like that. Okay, when 20, I'll say then what is the salary into what 0.20. Okay, like that. Then I'll say when 30, then I'll say something salary into salary into what is this 0.30, something like that, 0.30. Else means normal level we say when others, means if none of the when block is satisfied, control comes to what when others part. So here also I'm using what else block. Else what do you want? Salary into, I'll say something 0.40, 0.40, done. Then here I'll say end as, okay, so my procedure is returning how many, my procedure is having what, one output parameter referring to the table type, What is the fifth column in the table type? Tax. The first four columns I am retrieving it from the database table. This fifth column is your tax, no? So I'll say here end as what? Tax. End as tax. Then here that's all. From what is my database table name? EMP underscore department. Yeah, from EMP underscore department. That end for procedure is what? End. That's all. So this is the new syntax which we can use in HANA database related to what? Select statement. Understood? This case and case, case statement, not end case statement. I can use it as part of what? Select query itself. Let me cross check the syntax. Select employee ID, employee name, department number, salary fine. Then case department number. I am writing the combinations. Done. End as tax. So this is important. End as tax. What is the additional column in the table type? Tax only. Na? So the column name should match. End as tax from EMP underscore. That's all. Okay. So let me try to execute the procedure. Select the block. I'll say F8. Yeah, the procedure might be what? Created. The procedure might be created. Let us call this particular procedure. How do you call a procedure? By using the statement call. What is the procedure name? Calculate tax. Call calculate tax. It has, if I leave it like this, obviously I'll get an error because in HANA database, all the parameters are what? Mandatory. So when I execute, I am getting an error. Wrong number or types of parameters in the call. I tab is what? Not bound. So let me try to call calculate tax. I have to give a placeholder for the output parameter. Na? So I'm giving the placeholder. When I say F8, then I got the data. Yeah, you can see what is the output I got. I got an additional column tax, which we are constructing in my select query, and we are returning that. Done. Working fine. Working fine. Is it clear? So what I'm trying to show here is, the procedure is referring to an output parameter, is referring to a table type. This table type is expecting how many columns? 5 columns. That's the reason I'm returning what? 5 columns in the internal table, and make sure that the column names are what? Same. Yesterday also we have seen the column name should be what? Same. So here EMP ID, ename, these are all what? Database columns. And this is the calculated column. End as what? Tax. This is the syntax for what? Case statement, which we can use as part of what? Select query. Any questions? Yes, Amit, that will come in the next coming sessions. Here we are creating the procedure in the SQL console. We are creating the procedure in the SQL console. Okay. So generally, what is the purpose of creating the procedure? Once a procedure is created in the HANA database, I should be able to call it from what? ABAP report. So what are the procedures I have created from the last 2-3 sessions? I cannot call it from the ABAP report because this is not the appropriate place where we have to create the procedure. Just we are trying to understand the syntax. So in the next couple of sessions, we will create the procedure in a different place, where we can debug also. Here I cannot debug. I can create that. I need to create that inside a package. I need to store that in a separate schema called as sys_big. Once you store in that, I can start debugging and I can start consuming it from what? ABAP report. So debugging is possible. That we'll start discussing the next week onwards. Okay. Right.
Here also, if I want to loop, then the same yesterday syntax, right, Sridhar?
Why you want to loop, Rambabu?
So,
The
say
same
suppose I
syntax.
did,
Yeah, tell me.
say I want to, I mean, more than one record. Say you have written like this, no?
Correct.
So I need a loop. Say suppose.
Yeah.
So
What you have to do is, obviously we have to return the entire data into the internal table, loop your internal table, just like yesterday. Inside that loop and loop, you write the logic for calculating the value for what? Additional column. Same. The logic would be same, but since I think yesterday you only asked how to use case statement here, so that's the reason I'm using it. I can use it in the yesterday's approach also, no problem.
but in this case, no need to use loop. And yesterday case, it was using.
Yeah, because yesterday what the approach I followed is, first I am pulling the entire data into the internal table, then I am processing the internal table by using what? Loop and what? End loop. Here what I am doing, while reading the data itself, I am constructing the value for what? Additional column. While reading the data in the select statement only, I am using what? Case statement. Understood? I am not terminating the select statement here. Okay, select statement I have terminated here. So entire thing is what? Select statement only. Okay. Vijay, coming to your question, no, we can't. What you are saying is, you want to create a local internal table. Okay, here that local internal table I cannot refer it in the output parameter. Simple reason is, in the output parameter here, whatever you are referring, it should be either standard data type. Okay, it should be either database table. Okay, or it should be a view, or it should be table type. So these things should be what? They should be available before we create the procedure. What you are saying is, you want to create a local internal table inside the procedure, and that you want to refer to the output parameter. No, it is not possible. So you mean to say, assume that you are declaring some internal table itab1. You want to refer this itab1 here, right? So that is not possible. It will not recognize. It will give an error. Always, whatever you are referring here, this should be global. It should be either standard data type, or it should be a database table, or it can be a view, or it can be table type. Here, yes, obviously, this will create the database object. So once it is created, it is what? Reusable. Here I'm just referring. Here I'm not creating. I hope you understood. Table type is also reusable. Creation is only one time. Okay, so when do we go for creating the table type? If you want to reuse it in across many places, we'll go for creating the table type. But I cannot refer to the local declarations in the output parameters. It should be global. When I say global, it can be either the standard data types which are available, or it can be a database table, it can be a database view, or it can be a table type created either using GUI or using what? SQL statement. Okay. Now let me introduce to a new syntax. A new syntax for what? This procedure. So here I'll say, what is that, Sandeep? Yeah. The another question is, Sandeep is asking, can we modify the procedures? That's what you're asking, right, Sandeep? Can we modify the procedures? Yes. Again, here it is not possible. Okay. If you store it in a package, okay, when you store it in a package, we have two things here: design time object and what? Runtime object. So in future, if you want to provide some additional logic, yes, you can come back to the existing procedure and we can make the necessary changes. So procedure is always editable. We can. But not here again. It should be stored inside a package. So we need to wait for another 1 or 2 days for that. But the answer is yes. Table type in SC11, it's a normal thing, Vijay. How do you create the table type in SC11? So if you go to, I'm just connecting to application server. Acha. Okay. Amit, again, okay, another question is, can we refer to DDIC objects? Can we refer to DDIC tables and DDIC structures? Yes, we can refer. Yes, we can refer. But again, for that, I need to refer to the configured schema. Let me connect first. Oh, 1 second. Password is locked. Okay, done. So see here, I'll just go to this. Yeah. So I want to create a table type in what? SC11. So this is a general thing we know in what? Normal ABAP. Okay, another, I'm getting many questions. So here, another point is, what Vijay is asking is, we created the table type. Okay. So where we can see the table types in HANA Studio, in the procedure section, under table type section. Yes, this is the table type we have created just now. What is the TT underscore EMP underscore department? Yesterday we have created these two procedures. So I'll try to refer them. I'll try to refer them in my what application server. I'm going to say in SC11. So where do we refer? In the data type section, I'll say TT underscore EMP underscore department. So when I say F7, what is saying here? Does not exist. So as of now, my answer is whatever we create in the HANA Studio, I cannot refer. But again, we need to wait for some time. We have a T code called as DBA cockpit. DBA cockpit. Okay, this is actually admin T code. If you go to DBA cockpit, yeah, here. Yeah, what is the DB user here? You can see what is the database user. It is showing here SAP ABAP 1. SAP ABAP 1. So I have collected some information. Even if I go to the system menu status, what is the schema it is showing here? You can see at the bottom. What is the schema here? SAP ABAP 1. SAP ABAP 1. Okay. So if you create the objects, inside a schema called as what? SAP ABAP 1, then we can create. In the sense, suppose, yeah, in this SC11, I'll go to SC11. We have a table. Let me go to SC11 first. Yeah. Suppose here, I'm having a table called as VBAK. Try to understand. VBAK. Done. So we are able to access this VBAK table in the SC11. Can I access this VBAK in the HANA Studio means? Yes, we can access, but we need to collect the configured schema. What is the configured schema? SAP ABAP 1. If I go inside, here you can see in the table section, we have a table called as what? VBAK. So my answer is, if you create that in SAP ABAP 1, then we can see it in both GUI as well as what? HANA Studio. As of now, I've created that in what? Gensoft SQL. I cannot access it in what? SLN. But going forward, maybe after 4 or 5 days, we will be referring to the DDIC objects also. So one of the question is, can we refer to the DDIC objects in our HANA Studio? Yes, we can, but again there is a separate mechanism for that. We can refer. Okay, but the answer is yes. Amit, is it clear? What are the other questions? One second. Yes, we need not prefix with Z. That's what we are doing now, Vijay. So far, we have created many objects. We have not created anything starting with what? Z or Y. But if you create that in application server through GUI, compulsory all the custom objects, you must start with what? Z or Y. Otherwise, it will ask you for what? Access key.
Sridhar, if we create a Z table in SAP ABAP 1 package, so even though that is also no need to create a with G.
No, if you create using GUI, that is by logging into GUI, compulsory you need to start with Z or Y.
That is fine from there. I am asking about HANA Eclipse.
Yeah, HANA Studio, I need not start with Z or Y. If you create anything in HANA Studio, irrespective of the schema, irrespective of the schema, I need not start with Z or Y. I need not. Okay, one second. If you want the clarity on that, yeah. Suppose, one second. Yeah, I'm creating the column table. Let me check whether the permission is there for me. Okay, sorry?
Okay, fine.
Yeah. So create column table, SAP ABAP 1.emp underscore department 1, I'll say. Okay, let me try to execute this, F8. What happened? The table got what? Created. Okay, so under what? SAP ABAP 1. Let me cross check that. Okay, there are too many tables here, so let me filter. I'm in SAP ABAP 1 now. I'll go to tables. Okay, I'll say filters. What is the table name? EMP underscore what? Department 1 now. Yeah, I have got the table EMP underscore department 1. Let me open the definition. Okay, so I created that in what? HANA Studio. Okay, now I'll come back to what? This SC11. Okay, I'll come back to this. Let me refresh. Right, so I'll try to open it here. EMP underscore department 1. Okay, when I say F7, what is saying here? EMP underscore does not exist. So even though I created in what? SAP ABAP 1 schema, where I created directly in the HANA Studio, still I am unable to access that in what? GUI. Now I'll do reverse in the sense, yeah, here I'll create. Okay, I'll give the table name as what? ZEMP underscore, try to understand. ZEMP underscore department 1. I'll quickly create the table. Then only 2 columns I'm taking. Done. What else have to do? Enhancement category. Yeah? Then I have to give primary key, right? Okay. So save it. Check for the syntax. Done. So I have created the table through application server. Through application. What is the table name? ZEMP underscore department 1. Now let me go to HANA Studio. I'll try to refresh. Now you can see now. Am I clear? So what I'm going to say is, if you directly create in HANA Studio, I cannot access that in what? I cannot access that in what? GUI. But if you create through GUI, I can access both in GUI as well as what? HANA Studio. And that too, in GUI means whatever I create in GUI, I cannot access them everywhere in HANA Studio. It can be accessible only in that configured schema. What is the configured schema here? SAP ABAP 1. Okay, so more about this we'll discuss in detail when we go to reporting part. Okay, so just wait for some days. We'll start using the DDAC objects also. Yeah, Rambabu, is your point? Is your question is clear?
Yes, sir.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, Papiredi.
Hello. Sir. Yeah, we are HANA Studio, right? We're using here.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, it's
Sir,
HANA
actually,
Studio
we are
only.
using normally we are using. Yeah, in HANA Studio, we have any submit T code for this?
We need to install this software. It's an Eclipse-based tool. It's an Eclipse-based tool.
Okay, I'm new to this actually.
Yeah. But already
Okay.
I've shared the recordings to you 3 days back only. I've shared the
Right, actually,
recordings
I'm
to you
busy
3
with
days
work.
back. So just refer to that, you'll get an idea. HANA Studio is not a T code based here. It's a separate software. We need the administrator will install Eclipse software. In that Eclipse software, they'll install some HANA related plugins, and that we call it as what? HANA Studio. Basically, for UI5 also we'll use the same thing, but there we call it as Eclipse. If you install any plugins into HANA, we call it as HANA Studio. But it's basically an Eclipse tool only.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And we are not going to use here C11, right, sir?
We will. As of now, we are doing only native HANA development. For native HANA development, we must use only HANA Studio. Studio. But going forward, in HANA database, in ABAP HANA itself, we have a concept called as AMDPs, stored procedures, what else? ALV, IDA, CDS views. For all those things, we'll be using both HANA Studio as well as our normal SC11, all this. But for native HANA, only HANA Studio. Okay. So, all of you, is it clear? Doesn't mean that we don't use SC11. We will use in HANA also. Okay, but we have not yet came to that particular level. Okay, when we come to reporting part, ALV, IDA, AMDP, and CDS views, we must use both of them, HANA Studio as well as our normal SC11. Okay, yeah. Right, so now, so we understood how to create the table type, all those things done. Now let me go for a new syntax related to what the procedure. Just observe this. So far, what is the syntax I'm using for procedure? Actually, there is a lengthy syntax for the procedure. I'm not using all those things. So slowly I'll expand this. So far we are just saying create procedure name, and we are mentioning the parameter names, and then as begin, and we are writing some business logic. We are closing the procedure by using what? End statement. Now I'll say, yeah, yeah, done. So I'll create the procedure. Observe here. Create procedure. What is the procedure name? I'll give, yeah, insert underscore. Please mute your speakers, all of you. Create procedure, insert underscore EMP underscore department. Yeah. So what my procedure has to do is, try to understand. My procedure has to insert the data into this particular table. What is the table? Just now we created EMP underscore department, which has got how many columns? It has got some 4 columns. Or shall I take a simple table? 1 second. Instead of going for this table, I'll go for a very simple table. Yeah. Yeah, I'll go for this table. What is that? T department table, which has got 2 columns, department number and what? Department name. So try to understand. Department number, department, yeah. So create procedure so and so. Create procedure, insert underscore. I'll give the name of the procedure as something T department. You can give any name. Done. Then how do we insert the data into the table? My table is having got 2 columns. So by using the insert statement, you have to insert and you have to provide the values for both the columns. No? So create procedure name. Here I'll say input parameter. Try to understand. Input parameter. Let me give the parameter name as something IP underscore department number. You can give any name. For your understanding, IP means you understand that as input. IP underscore department number. What is the department number data type here? Yes, integer. Department name is what? Character. So IP underscore department number. Also what? Int or integer. I can say any other thing. Then what else? Yeah. Input parameter IP underscore dname. Dname. I'll give it as something varchar of something 20. And your department name is also what? Varchar of what? 20 only. Done. Okay. Then I'll take one output parameter. OP underscore MSG. I'll say varchar of what? Something 100. Varchar of 100. Done. That's all. Okay. Varchar of 100. Close parenthesis. Done. I'll say, try to understand. Reads SQL data. Reads SQL data. I have not used this addition so far. Now I am saying reads SQL data as begin. As begin. So what is the agenda of this procedure? It has to insert the data into this table. How do we insert a record? By using what? Insert statement, and this table is expecting 2 columns. So I'll say insert into, what is the table name? T underscore what? Sorry, insert into T department. T department values. What are the 2 input parameters I passed? One is IP underscore what? Department number. IP underscore department number, comma. What is the other parameter? IP underscore what? Dname. Understood? My table is expecting 2 column values. I am supplying 2 column values. These 2 values are nothing but what? Input parameters. Done. Then what I'll do? What is the output parameter? Something OP underscore MSG. OP underscore MSG equal to, I'll give the message, record inserted successfully. Record inserted successfully. Okay, and also what? End. That's all. Okay, so I'm creating the procedure what? I'm creating the procedure which has got 2 input parameters. So what is the only change is we have used an additional what option, or we have used an addition called as what? Reads SQL data. Reads SQL data. So let me check whether the procedure is created or not. So when I say F8, done. Good. I got an error here, syntax error. What is the error? See, create procedure. The feature not supported. Insert slash update slash delete is or not supported in the read-only procedure. So we are telling the HANA database that this is the read-only procedure. How do we indicate that? By using the addition what? Reads SQL data. So if you are using the addition means, as part of this procedure, if you want, I can use only the select query, but I cannot use the DML statements. I cannot use the data manipulation language statements. I cannot use insert, update, and what? Delete. Okay? Am I clear? Reads SQL data means we are telling the HANA database that this is a read-only procedure. Read-only procedure. So what is the meaning? I cannot use a DML statement, but you are trying to use, it is saying, giving an error what? Feature is not supported, read-only procedure. So what you have to understand is, on syntax check of this procedure, it is generating the error. What is the error it is generating? The procedure is created as what? Read-only procedure. So no insert or delete or update statements are supported inside the read-only procedure. Okay. So what I have to do now? I want to allow this insert operation. So what is the change I have to do? Let me keep it as it is for your reference. So this is giving me what? How to give comment? Error. Because, why error here? Because because what? DML statements are not supported. DML statements are not supported in what? Read-only procedure. Read-only procedure. Now, what is the change I'll do is, I can do the changes here only, but because it is not created, I can do the changes here only. But anyhow, I need to send the material. So insert so and so. I'll just comment this. How to comment? I'll use hyphen. Yeah. What is the change I have done? I'm commenting that reads SQL data. Okay. So when I execute this, I'll say F8. Then the procedure is successfully created. Let me close the other things. 1 second. Yeah. So I am able to create the procedure. Now let me check the number of records in this table. Also open data preview. We have all 2 records, 10 and what? 30. Now I'll try to insert a new record. So the procedure is created. I'll say call. Yeah, call. Try to understand this. What is the signature of the procedure? It has got 2 input parameters and 1 output parameter. Okay, so call, the procedure name is what? Insert underscore T department. Insert underscore T department values. Sorry. In the parenthesis, I have to pass overall how many parameters? 2 input parameters and output parameters. I'll say 20 comma. I'll give this value as what is that? Department name. Yeah, department name I'll give it as something sales. Department name is what? Sales. Then I have to bound the output parameter, so I'll give the placeholder. Okay. So what happens now? We are trying to call the procedure. So when I execute, what is the message I got? Record inserted successfully. So what is the understanding here? We are passing 20 and sales. These 2 values will go and sit in the input parameter. What are the output parameters it is returning? It is bounded to this placeholder. What is the output parameter value? Record inserted successfully. So I got the message what? Record inserted successfully. Okay. I'll insert 1 more record. So if you see the table, if I refresh, earlier we have 10 and 30. Yes, now I got what? 10, 30, 20 also we got. 20 also we got. Let me try to insert 1 more record. I'll say 40. I'll give it as finance. Execute this. Yes, again I got the message record inserted successfully. Check the table. Yes, we have 40. Now if you see the definition of the table, what is the primary key in the table? Department number is the primary key. This key is selected here. Department number is the primary key. Means it doesn't accept what? Duplicate values. So already in the table we have 10. Already we are in the table 10. So I'll say here, try to understand. 10. I'll give this as something HR. Okay, so I'm trying to insert the duplicate value. Try to understand here. When I execute this, when I say F8, good. What happened? The calling of the procedure is failed. I got what? I got some system-defined exception message. System-defined exception message. What is that exception message I got? Unique constraint violated at a so-and-so position, at so-and-so line number and what column. So what is happening here? Unique constraint is violated. So SAP itself has displayed that particular exception message. Am I clear? So what is my agenda now? My agenda is I want to insert the data into the above table and handle the exception for what? Unique constraint violation. Means what is happening here? If you're trying to insert the duplicate value, we are getting the system defined exception message. I want to handle that exception. So if you take our normal ABAP object oriented, how do we handle the exception? We know that exceptions are raised from the exception classes. I believe we use what? Try and catch block. Inside the try block, we will keep those statements where the exception might raise. And in the catch block, we'll handle the exception. Okay. So here, Here in this case, I want to handle the exception. See the change that I'll do. Yeah, let me copy the same procedure. See the change here. What is my agenda here is, if you're trying to insert the duplicate value for department number, it is stopping the insertion, and we are getting what? Unique constraint violation. This message is given by what? The system itself. So my agenda is, I want to handle that situation. So insert into department underscore T department underscore what? Handle underscore exception. Okay, I'll give some meaningful name, same signature. I'll remove this because I don't want to use, I want to use the insert statement. Yeah, everything is same. The only change I'll do is try to understand. As begin. Yeah, here I will declare the exception. Okay. 1 second. Yeah, unique consumer. Yeah, here I'll say declare. Try to understand. Declare exit handler for SQL exception. Declare exit handler for SQL exception. Begin. What is the output parameter name? OP underscore MSG. OP underscore MSG is equal to, I'll give a message what? Record already exists. Record already exists. Done. And also what? And I'll explain this. Done. Insert into so and so, record insert success. That's all. Let me cross check. Yeah, declare exit handler for SQL exception. Begin. OP underscore MSG equal to record already exists. Done. Okay. Let me try to create the procedure. Execute the procedure. Effect. Yeah, the procedure is successfully created. I'll try to insert the, I'll try to call the procedure now. Call so and so. Okay. I'll give the parameter department number as 50. Okay. And this I'll give it as something what? .NET, something. .NET. Then after that, I'll give the placeholder. Okay. So do you have 50 in the table earlier? No. Okay, I don't have 50. So 10, 20, 30, 40 is there. So what is the expectation here? This record is successfully inserted. If it is successfully inserted means, what is the understanding? Insert statement is successfully executed. I repeat, if the record is successfully inserted means what? What is the meaning? Insert statement is successfully executed. If it is successfully executed, what happens? Control goes to the next statement. This statement will be executed, and what are the messages that is assigned to the output parameter. Let me try to call F8. Done. Okay, what is the message I got? Record inserted successfully. So the record is successfully inserted, and even what happened? I got the message also. What is that message? Record inserted successfully. Now what I'll do? I'll try to insert the department number 20. 20 is already there. Okay, 20 is already there. Okay. So I'll try to insert. Call insert underscore so and so. I'll give 20 here. Here I'll say something what? Production. Done. So earlier what happened when you're trying to insert the duplicate record? Here in this case, what happened? So here these two cases, I got what? Success. Here also I got what? Success. Okay. Here what happened? I got the error. What is the error I got? Unique constraint violation. And this message is given by what? SAP itself. Unique constraint violation. Now I handle that exception. I'm trying to insert the duplicate value. Let's see what happened. F8. Try to understand. When I say F8, what happened? Record already exists. So I'm flashing a meaningful message to the user. Earlier what happened? Earlier it is stopping that insertion, and we got the system defined message. What is that message got earlier? Where is that? Yeah, unique constraint violated. So what I did now, what is the change I have done inside this procedure? I'm handling the exception. Okay, this is the way to handle the exception. In our normal ABAP, we use try and catch. You can assume this is similar to catch block. What we will do in the catch block, we are going to handle the exceptions. Again, if you go back to object-oriented ABAP, how do we use it? Inside the try block. Okay, inside the try block, we'll write some statements. We'll write some statements. And what you will do after this? No parameters. Yeah, inside the try block, you will do something. And here you will say catch. And one point you have to understand, while defining the catch block, we need to provide the exception class, which is raising the exception. So in ABAP, we know there are thousands of exception classes. And those exception classes starts with what? CX underscore. Okay. So as part of catch block, we have to give that exception class, which is responsible for raising the exception. So we may not be aware of which class is going to raise the exception. So what we are going to do, if you are not sure about the exception class, we are going to give a parent exception class. What is that? CX underscore what? Root. CX underscore root is a super class, parent class, base class for all the exception classes. Okay. Similar to the CX underscore root, you can visualize this particular SQL exception. Okay. Here what I am doing, I am defining the what? Catch block for a standard exception. Again, this is nothing but what? Standard exception. SQL exception means whenever the execution of any SQL statement is failed, it is going to, which exception is going to be raised? SQL exception. So what I am doing here, I am defining the handler block. for that particular exception. You can visualize this is similar to what? Catch block. So I am defining the block here. What is the logic I wrote here? In my output parameter, record already exists. So when the control will come here, the execution will start from here only. Initially, this will not be executed. Remember, this block will not be executed. Or if you go back here, when the catch block will be executed, only when the exception is raised in what? Try block. When the exception is raised in the try block, then only the control goes to what? Catch block. Am I clear to everyone? If the exception is raised in the try block, then only control goes to what? Catch block. Otherwise, the catch block will not be executed. Similarly, here also, the control will not go to this block initially. It will never go to this block. Control the execution, it will execute the insert statement. Okay. If the execution of this SQL statement is failed, in the earlier case, what happened? It is raising the system-defined exception, unique constraint violated. But now what happened? Since we have defined the handler block for that SQL exception, control goes here, it will execute this business logic. What is the business logic here? We are assigning some message, and that message will be flashed as the output parameter. Am I clear? So I just gave a simple example on what? Exception handling. Next class, we'll see more about what exception handling, and after that we have to see how to create the procedure inside a package, how to call it from the ABAP program. Okay, so any questions in this part, please ask me. There are many things we have to discuss in that. We'll discuss that in the next class, but for today what you have to understand is, in the earlier case what happened, we have not defined any handler block. So the execution of the SQL statement is failed. Whenever the execution of SQL statement is failed, what happened here? It has raised the standard exception message. So if the user gets this message, I assume that I'm a customer now. So if I'm a customer, by looking at this message, I don't understand what is that message. So when you are flashing any message to the user, it should be what? Meaningful. So what I did here, I have handled that situation. How did I handle that situation? I have defined the handler block for that particular SQL exception. And when this block gets executed, whenever the execution of this insert statement is what? Failed. Okay, the control goes to that particular block, it will execute that. Okay, in the next class, what I'll do is, I'll take one example. In that example, we'll deal with the standard exception as well as we will declare our own exception, we will raise our own exception, we will handle our exception. In this case, what is happening? We are not going for our exception. SAP is raising one standard exception. Whenever the insert statement execution is failed, SAP will raise a standard exception called as what? SQL exception. So what happened here? Since we are handling that exception, the control comes to this particular block. If you are not handling that exception, what happens? SAP is going to flash what? The standard exception message. Any questions? And what is the other point we have discussed earlier? Reads SQL data. So why we have to use this means, why we have to, again, for this you'll understand in the next couple of sessions. Sometimes we'll create a procedure. Sometimes we'll create a procedure where you are sure that we are not going to use any DML statements. We are going to use only select queries. So if you are going to use only select queries, and if you are sure that we are not going to use any DML statements, so better we use addition what? Reads SQL data. Even if you don't use also, the procedure will be created, we can call the procedure. But internally what happens is, some privilege checks it will do. Internally, the HANA database will perform some privilege checks. It will do some checks internally. To avoid that unnecessary checks, to improve the performance of your procedure execution, better we use addition what? Reads SQL data, provided if you are sure that we are not going to use any DML statements. Okay, am I clear? Otherwise what happens is, if you don't use this addition, internally it will perform some privilege checks. It will perform some privilege checks. To avoid that privilege checks, better we use the addition what? Reads SQL data, and make sure that you don't use any DML statement. So as I told you, this is not the appropriate place where we create the procedure. We are going to create the procedure separate place. So there is some more things you have to discuss related to the procedure. We have other syntax also. We will be discussing the standard syntax maybe in another couple of days. May not be on Monday. Maybe on Tuesday we will see that the entire syntax for creating the procedure, which is the standard way. Okay. So next class we'll have it again on what? Monday. No class tomorrow. We'll have it on Monday. Practice all these things. I'll share this material also. I've shared till yesterday. I'll share this material. Okay. Monday we'll continue with the exception handling and the standard way of what? Procedure creation. Any question for today? Please ask. Yes, Papired, any questions? Papired, your voice is not audible to me. Are you speaking?
No, sir. No, sir. Yes, I'm looking. Sir, actually, we are using 4 columns, right, sir? Based on that department number, we need to get the tax, right?
First example, okay.
Right.
Okay. Yeah,
so
tell me.
Here. So yeah, then we have written one select statement, right, sir? Yeah.
Correct.
Then what is this end as stack last? Else end as stack.
End for begin is what? End. End for while is what? End while. Okay. End for if is what? End if. Similarly, end for, that's what? End for case is end as.
Okay.
Understood? End for while is end while. End for loop is end loop. End for if is end if. Similarly, end for yeah, tell me.
End for you can use end case, right?
That is a normal syntax we know in our normal ABAP. Now this is a new syntax. This is a new syntax which is supported in the HANA database, which can be used as part of select query itself. What are the syntax we know is, we don't use that in the select query. We use it independently. Case and what? End case. Okay. Here we'll say what? When one do so and so. Something like this. This is a normal syntax which we use in a normal application server. Now we are getting introduced to a new syntax. This is supported. This is recognized only in what? HANA database. Yeah. Any other doubts, others? Why I'm saying end as tax wins? Simple understanding. Here the procedure is returning what one parameter of type table type now. Table type is having how many columns? 5 columns. Table type is having what? 5 columns. For the first 4 columns, data is fetched from the database table itself. That's why I gave it select one so. But the 5th column, it is not the database column. It is a calculated column. That's the reason I am doing the calculation and I'm returning that value in the form of which column? Tax. Here if I say tax 1, it will give error because in my return type, the column name is what? Tax. Here also the column name should be tax only. Done? Any questions related to this? This is very important. This is the way we are going to develop the process in the real time also. We must handle the exceptions. For every business logic we write, we must handle the exceptions to avoid the abnormal conditions.
Here,
Okay.
what is being procedure means create procedure means
Just like how do we define a subroutine? Form end form. How do we define a function model? Function end
okay.
function. How do we define a method? Method end method. Similarly, in HANA database also, we have something called as procedure. What is the syntax for creating the procedure? Create procedure, procedure name, parameter list. As between begin and end, we have to write the business logic for the procedure. It's a part of syntax. Right? So those who are not started practicing, start practicing. Okay, so we'll meet again on Monday. And one more communication. From Monday onwards, I'll try to start the class sharp by 6 o'clock. Sharp by 6 o'clock because very soon I'm going to start another batch, batch at 7 o'clock. I need to start that batch exactly at 7 o'clock. So this batch, I need to start exactly at 6 o'clock so that we can wind up by 7. Right? So Monday we'll meet at 6 o'clock for discussing further on what? Exception handling. Chalo then, so I'm winding off.
This conference is no longer being recorded.
Right. So in the last class, we have discussed an example on what exception handling. So what we have done is we have considered one table, T department. Okay. So if you go to the table section, yeah, this is a table we have considered, and this table has got some 2 columns, department number and department name. Department number is the primary key, and it has got some data. What are the available departments? 10, 20, 10, 20, 30, 40, and what? 50. And based on this table, we have created a procedure. What is the procedure we have created? Insert underscore. Yeah, insert underscore T department underscore handle underscore exception. So what we are doing for this procedure, we are passing 2 input parameters and we have an output parameter. Then what you have done is, if you're trying to insert a duplicate value for the department number, we are getting the standard exception message. We are getting the standard exception message like unique constraint violation. So what you have done is, we have declared an exit handler. We have declared an we have handled the exception called what? SQL exception. When this exception will be raised, whenever the DML statements execute, whenever the SQL statement execution fails, this exception will be raised. And as part of this exception exit handler block, we have associated some message. We are storing that message in the output parameter. Okay. So whenever the insert statement execution fails, SAP will raise the exception what? SQL exception, control will come here. It will store this particular message in this particular output parameter. If there is no problem in executing the insert statement, I would get the message about record inserted successfully. Okay, so quickly let me execute this procedure once again, so that based on this we can continue. So I'll open the SQL console. Yeah, I'm opening the SQL console for the schema what? Gensoft SQL. So since I directly right clicked on this Gensoft SQL and I open the SQL console, this SQL console is open for which schema? Gensoft SQL. So I need not set the schema. Okay, I need not set the schema. Done. So let me try to insert the record here. I need to say call the procedure. What is that? Call insert underscore. Call insert underscore T department. Sorry, call insert underscore T department underscore handle underscore exception. Okay, what is the signature of this procedure? It has got two input parameters, one output parameter. So I'll give the input parameter as department number as 60 and department name I'll give as something manufacturing, and I'll give some placeholder for binding the output parameter. Done. Okay, so let me execute this. When I say F8, the procedure is successfully executed, means the insert is successfully executed. What is the next statement after insert? We are associating some message with the output parameter OP underscore message. What is the message? Record inserted successfully. That's why you can see the result. I got the result of what? Record inserted successfully. Okay, and if you see the table also, these are the available departments. Earlier we are up to 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. When I refresh, I got 60 also. Okay, so once again I'll try to call the procedure with a duplicate department number. Okay, so I'll pass 20. I'll give the department name as something CRM. Okay, so 20 is the primary key, and in the table 20 is already available. So if the 20 is already available, what happens? The execution of the insert statement fails. Whenever the execution of the insert statement fails, it will raise what? The standard exception, SQL exception. Control will go to this particular block. You can visualize this block similar to what? Catch block. Okay, so in that catch block, we are associating the message record already exists. So let me try to execute this. When I say F8, done. I got the message what record already exists. So this, anyhow, we know we have done this in the last class. So what we have done in the last procedure is we have handled the standard exception. Okay, we have handled the standard exception, and as part of that exception handling, what we are doing, we are associating what? Our own message. Okay. Now my next requirement is I want the similar kind of procedure where I'm going to do the insertion, but this time what I want is I want to capture the standard exception code, and I want to capture the standard exception message. Okay, what is the requirement? As part of this handler, as part of this exit handler block, I want to capture the standard exception code and standard exception message. So in the HANA database, every exception, every standard exception will be associated with what? Error code. That is called as what? Exception code. And you'll have the exception message. So if you know object-oriented ABAP, in that how do we capture the standard exception message? In a normal ABAP, we'll say try, and as part of try block, we'll keep what? N number of what? Statements. Okay, we'll keep n number of statements, and here I will say something. So here assume that I'll declare one reference data OB type ref2. Assume that I'll give the class as something cx underscore arithmetic error. Okay, I'm declaring the reference for that class. So in the try block, and in the try block you'll keep the statement, and you'll handle the exception in the catch block. So how do you write it? Cx underscore sy underscore cx underscore sy underscore arithmetic error. You'll say into what is the reference OB, and as part of this, if you want to capture the standard exception message, what you will do, every exception class in ABAP contains some two methods, three methods: get underscore text, get underscore long text, get underscore source, get underscore source position, something like that. Okay, so if you want, we can cross check that. If you log into the GUI, if you go to class builder, let me open any of the standard exception class, cx underscore 0 divide or arithmetic error, whatever it is. If I go to this class, in this class we can see we have some methods. In the methods tab we have get text, get underscore long text, get underscore source position. So you take any exception class, you'll have those three methods. Suppose if I go to arithmetic error class, here also you can see we have the methods get text, get long text, get source position. So what is the purpose of these methods? These methods are used for what? Getting the standard exception message. So here also my requirement is, I want to handle that standard exception SQL exception. As part of that, I want to capture the standard exception code and the standard exception message. So let's see that. So I want to do the insertion on the same table. So let me try to create the procedure. Yeah, earlier procedure name is insert underscore t department underscore handle underscore exception. Handle underscore exception. So now this time, let me create the procedure as create procedure. It as something insert underscore t department underscore capture underscore or exception message. Okay, some procedure name. Okay, insert underscore t department underscore capture underscore exception message, and for this let me pass some two parameters, two input parameters. One is input parameter, I'll give it as something IP underscore department number. IP underscore department number. What is this department number? Data type here integer, and department name is character. So here also I'll give it as integer. Then IP underscore something D name. Let me give it as something varchar of 20. Then I want output parameter OP underscore NSG. Let me give it as something varchar of something 150 something. Okay, so this is my signature of the procedure. Done. So as begin. So what is that? What is the business logic you want to write? You want to say insert into what is the table name? T department. So just now we have seen the table T department, which has got two columns, department number and department name. So insert into what? T department values. It is expecting two values. So I'll pass those two input parameters. One is IP underscore department number, comma IP underscore what? D name. Done. IP underscore D name. Done. After this, after the insert statement, I'll say OP underscore MSG equal to, I'll just give a message, record inserted successfully. Record inserted successfully. Done. End. So this is a business logic we need to write. So whenever this insert statement execution fails, when it will fail, when you are trying to insert duplicate value for the primary key column, we are getting the message what unique constraint violation. So what we have done, we have handled the exception. How do we handle the exception? You have to declare the handler block. exception handler block for the standard exception called as SQL exception. So I'll say declare what? Here also same thing. How do you do it? You can visualize this similar to a catch block. Declare exit handler for SQL exception. Declare exit handler for SQL exception. Then begin and what? End. So between this begin and end, what is my requirement? I want to capture the standard exception message and standard exception code. So in the earlier procedure, what we did directly in the output parameter, we gave some message recall already exists, but I don't want the user-defined exception message. I want to capture the standard exception message. So I'll say op underscore msg is equal to I'll just give some message like SQL exception raised, and here I'll say something error code is done. So here I have to use a pipe symbol. I was a bit confused. Yeah, this is a pipe symbol. Okay, then here at colon. We have one standard exception attribute called as SQL underscore what? Error underscore code. SQL underscore error underscore code. Done. Then again concatenation symbol. I'll give space and I'll say SQL exception is error code is so and so, and here I'll say something error message is again pipe symbol. I need to refer to what? The standard exception message. So we have another attribute, just like for cursors we have seen some attributes like not found, row count, something like that. Here also for exceptions also we have some standard exception attributes. SQL underscore error underscore message. That's all. Yeah, that's it. Okay. So what I am doing here, as part of my output parameter, I am referring to the attributes what? SQL underscore error underscore code. SQL exception is error code is so and so. What is it? SQL underscore error underscore code, and then error message is SQL underscore error underscore message. Done. That's it. Let me execute this. Yeah, I'll say F8. I got an error. Incorrect syntax near so and so. Why I got the error? What is the issue? SQL syntax near T department, it seems. What is the issue here? Line 9, column 17. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, yeah. Question name double quotes. But it is giving me the error where in the line. Insert into department values, IP underscore department number, IP underscore D name. Okay, it is showing the error here. Okay, fine. Let me just remove this. I'll do double quotes. Done. Yes. If I use single quotes here, yeah, you can see everything is in bluish color. Done. Okay, so I'll get double quotes here. Let me execute F8. Yeah, the process is successfully created. Now let me try to call. Also call. This is a procedure name. Here. So I'll try to give the department number as something what 70 not there. So I'll try to insert what 70. Okay, so it's a 70. Done. Then here I'll give the department name. Let me get as something. Salesforce. There I'll give the placeholder for the output. This should be successfully inserted. So insert should be successfully executed. So it will not go to what? SQL exception block. When I say F8, what happened? F8. Why did I do that like this? call insert underscore T department underscore capture exception message done. Then I got 70 Salesforce and again like this. But why I am getting like this? One second. Successfully prepared. Oh, I'm sorry. The problem is this is for accepting the values in the runtime. So already we have discussed this. What we have discussed is if you don't specify the type of parameter, it will take it as what input parameter. That's why when I'm trying to execute, for this placeholder also they are expecting the value here. They are expecting the value. This is called as prepared statement. Okay, so the adjustment I have to do is I need to give it as what output parameter. Okay, the third parameter I need to give it as what output parameter. So here I'll give output parameter. I'll do one thing. Since I want the same procedure, can I drop the procedure here? If I see the procedure section, right? If I refresh, what is the procedure we have created? Insert underscore T department underscore capture underscore exception message. So I want to drop this procedure. One second. Earlier it was like this, so let me copy it as it is for your reference. So here it is asking me value for that, so let me drop the procedure. So I'll say drop procedure. Earlier we are saying drop statement for dropping the table. So I'll try to drop the procedure now. Done. Procedure might be successfully dropped. So if I refresh here, yes, it has got successfully dropped. So what is the change I'll do now? So the problem was, since I didn't specify the category of the parameter, it is taking it as what input parameter. That's why when I'm running this, it is asking a value for this placeholder in the runtime. Just like we have parameter statement. We have parameter statement above which will generate the selection screen for reading the user input. Here also I can enter the value in the runtime. So what is the adjustment I have to do here? Let me give it a what out. That's it. Done. So now let me try to execute this. Process is successfully created. We try to done. So when I say F8, yeah, what happened? The record inserted successfully. So if you see the table, 70 got successfully inserted. Let me try to insert one more record. Let me give it as something. 40 is already there. So I'll try to insert 40. I'll give the department name. I'll give it as something SRM. 40 is already there in the table and with the primary key. Okay. So what should happen now? The insert statement execution should fail. Whenever the insert statement execution fails, SAP will raise what? SQL exception. Why SQL exception? Because it is a SQL statement. So whenever that exception is raised, since we have handled that exception, control will go to this block. As part of this ANDER block, what we are doing, we are capturing the standard exception code and standard exception message by referring to the exception attributes, SQL error code and SQL error message. So let's try to execute this. F8. Done. What is the error here? Parameter or variable OP underscore message has length 173, but it should be smaller than 150. Good. Okay, good. So you understood the issue here. The issue is here I gave the length of this output parameter at varchar 150, but I think the output is generating as more than 150 characters. It is giving it as what? 173, but should be smaller than what? 150. Okay, so what I need to do once again is I need to drop the procedure or recreate the procedure with some other name. Okay, so better we understood this error message. It is saying that it is having what? More than 150. So let me drop the procedure. Once again, I'll drop the procedure. F8, procedure is dropped. Let me recreate the procedure. I'll recreate the procedure as something what 200 done. F8, procedure is successfully created. Let me try to execute this 40. Yeah, I'm trying to insert 40 now. When I say F8, good. What is the message I got? SQL exception raised. Error code got 301 it seems. Error code is 301. And error message is what? Unique constraint violated, and we are getting some further information. Understood? So what we are trying to understand is how to capture the standard exception code and how to capture the standard exception message. In a normal basic ABAP, we do it by calling the methods what get text and get long text. Okay, here we have the exception attribute called SQL underscore error underscore message. Now, sometimes what happens is inside the procedure, we might be responsible for handling the standard exception as well as we might be responsible for raising our own exception. Just like if you take an object in the ABAP, we have a statement called as raise for raising what? Exception. Here also, in HANA database also, we have the provision to what? Raise our own exception. So before that, any questions in this? Okay. So once again, let me drop the procedure. I want to recreate the procedure with some different logic. I'm dropping the procedure. F8, procedure gets dropped. So let me recreate. Yeah, the change I want to do is, so what is my requirement is, we are trying to insert the record into what? Department table. Okay. So my requirement is, anyhow, if you are trying to insert duplicate values for this department number, it will raise what? The standard exception. Now the next requirement is, if I insert blank value, yes, Sandeep, what is the doubt? I can handle it anywhere. Whenever the exception is raised, whenever the SQL exception is raised, when you're trying to execute the insert statement, if the insert statement execution fails, what happens? The exception will raise. So SAP will check whether we handle that particular block. So that's what I explained in the last slide also. Initially, this block will not be executed. This block will be executed only when the exception is what? Raised. So when you start the execution, it will not execute these statements. It will directly go to this executable statement, insert statement. In case if the insert statement execution fails, then the control comes here. Initially, this block will not be executed. Is it clear? Yes, we have the alter command. Just like we alter table name, we can also we can also alter the procedures. If you go to help contents, we should know the syntax for that. Okay, so let me search for that. So here I would say alter what? Procedure. Here you can see alter procedure syntax is there. You can see you can use alter procedure if you want to change the content and the properties of the procedure without dropping the object. Yes, we can change the signature and we can also change the business logic. It's there, Rambabu. You can follow the syntax, same syntax, but instead of create procedure, say what? Alter procedure. That's all. Right. You can go by the syntax. So now I knew I dropped it already. So I want to recreate the procedure. What is the requirement now? Requirement is, if you're trying to insert duplicate value for department number, obviously the exception raised got SQL exception. Control will come to this. The next requirement is, in case if I try to insert null value for department name, try to understand. If I try to insert null value for department name, it should raise what? User defined exception. So what you want to understand is, so far we have seen how to handle the standard exceptions. How to handle the standard exception just by defining the exit and or block for that standard exception. Now my requirement is, I want to raise our own exception. When you raise the exception, control will come to what? Exit and or block. So the change is same thing, same procedure name. The signature also is what? Same. Yeah, the signature also same. Declare exit handler done. Yeah, here also same thing. Now I'll declare one more just like in a normal ABAP, a try block can contain what? N number of catch blocks. No? A try block can contain n number of what? Catch blocks. So I can have like this, and I can also have like this. Okay, so what happens? Depending upon the exception raised, control will come to what? Appropriate catch block. Understood? Depending on the exception raised, control will come to appropriate catch block. Here also, the control will automatically jump to what? Appropriate catch block. So here I'll say, I want to what? Okay. So again, if you go back to our object-oriented concepts, if you want to work with the user-defined exceptions, if you take standard exceptions, in case of standard exceptions, the declaration of this standard exception is done by SAP itself. Okay. The raising of this standard exception is done by what? SAP itself. As a developer, we are only going to handle the exception. This is the taking care of a developer. If you take user-defined exception, here also in HANA database also, same concept. The declaration, the raising, and handling. All these three tasks are taken care of by what? Developer itself. So what is the difference between standard exceptions and user-defined is, in case of standard exception, the declaration of the exception, the raising of the exception is taken care by SAP itself. Just we need to watch. Handle that. Just we need to handle that. Whereas in case of user-defined, all the three tasks are taken care by developer. So far we are dealing with standard exception. What you are doing here, we are only handling the exception. The declaration of the exception, the raising of the exception is taken care by SAP itself. Now in the same procedure, what I want to work with what? User-defined exception. So how do we declare the exception? So somewhere here, I'll declare the user-defined exception. How do you declare? You have to use the keyword declare. You can give any name. I'll give the name as something my exception. Declare my exception. Declare my exception condition, you have to say. Declare my exception condition for SQL error code. SQL error code. So I believe already I covered this 1 week back. The user-defined exception codes ranges from what? Ranges from what? 10,000 to 19,999. So I'll associate my own exception number here, an exception code. I'll give it as something 10,003. This is nothing but what? Declaring the exception. While declaring the exception, you need to associate what? Exception code. Then what is the next job here? We need to handle the exception. So let me handle the exception somewhere here. I can handle. How do we handle? Same. Declare. What is this? Exit handler for what is our exception? My exception. Yeah. Declare exit handler for my exception, and also begin. Okay, begin. So what I'll do here I'll say begin. Yeah, what is the output parameter name? OP underscore message. Yeah. OP underscore message is equal to, yeah, here I'll say, just for our understanding, I'll say user defined exception raised. User defined exception raised. Here also I want to capture the exception code. Error code is, how do we capture the exception code? I need to refer to the standard exception attribute. What is that? SQL underscore error underscore code. Sorry. SQL underscore error underscore code. Then pipe symbol, concatenation symbol. Then here I'll say, yeah, here I'll say what? Error message is, error message is, yeah, error message. Again, here I'll refer to the attribute what? SQL underscore error underscore what? Message. SQL underscore error underscore message. That's it. And, okay. So here what happens? I'll get the standard exception code. I'll get the standard exception message. Here I'll get the user defined exception code. I'll get the user defined exception message. Whatever we have associated. SQL error message. That's all. Done. So there are two exit handler blocks. You can assume you can get two different catch blocks. Now this is my insert statement. Done. Yeah. Somewhere here I'll say if when you want to raise that exception, user defined exception, whenever you're trying to insert blank value for the department name, I need to raise that particular exception. What is the parameter which is carrying the department name? IP underscore dname. If IP underscore dname equal to blank, then understood, if IP underscore dname equal to blank, then I need to raise the exception. So again, if you know object-oriented ABAP, we use the keyword raise keyword. To raise the exception, we use the keyword raise. In case of this HANA database, we use a keyword called as signal. Signal. What is my exception name? My exception. Yeah. Signal my exception. While raising the exception, I need to associate the exception message. So how do you associate? Means you have to say set message underscore text is equal to, set message underscore text is equal to, I will say something, department name cannot be blank. My own user defined message. And if that's it, then insert statement, done, record insert successfully. Let me cross check. So I'm trying to create the procedure so and so with two input parameters, one output parameter. Then what I did here, I declared my user defined exception. Okay. How do we declare user defined exception? In case of normal ABAP, we use a keyword called as exceptions. Exceptions followed by what? Some user defined exception name. How do we raise that exception? We use a keyword called as raise followed by what? Here instead of raise we have to use what? Signal keyword. And instead of using exceptions keyword for declaration, we have to use this syntax. What is that? Declare what? Exception in condition for SQL error code. And this range should be between what? 10,000 to 19,999. From 1 to 9,999, it is reserved for standard exception message. So done. I have defined two exit handlers. One is for standard exception, another is for user defined exception. In both the cases, what I am doing, I am capturing the exception code and I am capturing the exception message. So what you are doing, we are writing some condition. If the department name is blank, then we are raising the exception by associating the exception message. Whenever the exception is raised, control goes to this exception handler block. Where is the exception handler block? Control will go here. Done. So here I should not be any semicolon. Done. Okay. Done. So control will go here. It will provide this particular message. User defined exception. Error code is I should get this 10,003. Error message is this one. This error message will be captured here. Okay. In case if you're not inserting not null value, If you are not inserting the null value, if condition is failed, it will execute the insert statement. In case if you are trying to insert duplicate value for insert statement in department number, the standard exception will be raised. Let me try to execute this. F8. The process is successfully created. If I refresh, yes, the process is created. Insert department capture exception method done. Let me try to call this. So I'll say call. What is the procedure name? Okay, so and so. I'll give the department number as something 80. So let me cross check here. We have 10, 20, 30 up to what? 70. I'll try to insert what? 80 now. Okay, I'll try to insert 80. 80, I'll give the department name as something DevOps. Then I'll give the placeholder for the output parameter. So what happens in this case? No exception will be raised. No standard exception is raised. No user-defined exception is raised. So when I say F8, I got the message record inserted successfully. So no exception is raised. 80 got inserted. 80 got inserted. Okay. Now I'll try to insert the duplicate value for what? Department number. So I'll try to insert here department number 40. Okay. I'll give the department name as something. I'll give it as something AWS. So what happened? The unique constraint violation. So in this case, what happened? SAP will raise the standard exception. Means internally, SAP will use what keyword? Signal keyword. Signal. What is the exception raised? The standard exception what? SQL exception. Internally, SAP will raise this particular exception. We are just handling that exception. So when I try to execute this, F8, done. What happened? SQL exception raised. Error code is what? 301. Error message what? Unique constraint violated. Good. So I'm getting the what? Exception message at what? Standard exception. Now what I'll do? I'll try to insert null value. So here I'll say I'll try to insert 90. Okay. I'll try to insert 90 and I'll try to give blank value. I'll try to give blank value for what? Department name. So what happens now? This if condition is satisfied. Whenever this if condition is satisfied, it is going to raise our user-defined exception. Whenever this user-defined exception is raised, control goes to exit under block. This block, it will give me this particular message. And while raising this user-defined exception, I'm associating the exception message. What is that? Department name cannot be blank. So let me try to execute this. F8. Done. What happened? SQL exception raise. Actually, I should change the message. Oh. Why SQL exception raise was? What is it? The error code is our own. Error message what? Department name cannot be blank. But why I got SQL exception raised? See, this is fine. 10,003 and the message your department name cannot be blank. Why I got like that? I should get this message, no? User defined exception raised. You understood here the problem? I should get this is up from here. It's fine. Error code is so and so, error message is so and so. But why I got this one? Acha. Okay. Good. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Any understanding here? See, my expectation is I should get this message. User defined exception raised, error code is so and so. But I got what? SQL exception raised, error code is so and so. So my understanding is just like in normal ABAP or any other programming language, a try block can contain any number of what? Cache blocks. A try block can contain any number of cache blocks. Okay. Whenever an exception is raised in the try block, control jumps to first matching cache block. First matching cache block. That's why here also I think it is going here. So what I'll do is just I want that one. Okay. So I'll do one thing. Okay. I'll do a small change here. What I'll do is let me drop the proceed is dropped. The change I'll do is I'll remove this from here. I'll keep this first. Okay. Let me check whether this is fine now. Execute this. F8. Then process is created. Now I'll try to insert what? The same thing. Okay. First let me try to insert the duplicate value. Or let me try to copy everything. Let us cross check everything. So here I'll say something 100. Okay, so this should be inserted successfully. What is the message called? Record insert successfully. Done. Now I'll try to insert 40 AWS so and so. It should raise me what? The unique constraint message. When I say F8, yes, I got SQL exception raised. Error code is 301. Error message or unique constraint violated. Done. Now I'll try to insert 90. Okay, before that, if I refresh, now I don't have 90, I remember. I don't have 90. Okay, so I'm trying to insert unique value, but I'm trying to insert blank value for what? Department name. So this if condition should satisfy, it should raise that exception. Done. F8. Good. User defined exception raise. So whatever you have done is absolutely fine. Earlier also what you have done is fine. But what is happening is there are two matching cache blocks. There are two matching cache blocks. So always the control jumps to what? First cache block. First matching cache block. Here also, if you take our object-oriented ABAP also, a try block can contain a number of cache blocks. There might be two cache blocks matching. So to which cache block it will jump in? So the first cache block which is matching. So you can assume this is similar to CX underscore root. CX underscore root, which can handle what? Any kind of what SQL exception. The same thing here also. That's the reason. Since I want my own message first, I'm handling first my exception. So that is the adjustment we need to do. There is no other way. Understood? Earlier what happened is even this user-defined exception is raised, control is jumping to the first matching cache block. That's the reason I have interchanged the positions. Hope it's clear to everyone. The understanding is a try block can contain any number of cache blocks, any number of matching cache blocks. Control always jumps to first matching cache block. Okay, we cannot control that one. That's the reason here, since I'm expecting my own message for my own exception, I'm putting my block first so that my block will be executed. Anyhow, for standard exception, control will not go to our block. Control will go towards standard exception. Done. So what we have learned in this example is how to declare our user-defined exception, how to raise our user-defined exception, how to handle our own exception. Declaration, raising and what? Handling. That's all. So these concepts are sufficient for what? Exception handling. Any questions, please ask. Okay. Done. So we have seen if and if, we have seen case and case. I think we have seen what else? Loop and loop. Okay. Let me quickly go for this for and for. We have a looping statement like for and for. Just I want to show you the syntax of that. What should I do? Yeah, I'll create a simple procedure. Create procedure. As the procedure name is for underscore test. Then I'll say as begin. What else? As begin. Declare. I want to use for loop now. So I'll declare one variable v underscore counter. I'll give it as integer. Let me start with 1. Integer equal to 1. Then for what is that? V underscore count. Sorry, V underscore count in. See the syntax for V underscore count in what? To give the range 1 to 5 do. Yeah, 1 to 5 do. And end for is what? End for. Obviously, end for beginning what? And here I'll say select V underscore count. V underscore count from dummy. Done. Okay, let me execute this. F8. Yeah, the process is successfully created. Let me try to call it. Call for underscore test. Doesn't have any parameters. Done. So when I execute, yes, what is the result I got? See, you can observe here what I got. See, this is one. You can see 5 different tabs. One, every select statement will execute what? One tab. 1 I got, 2 I got, 3 I got, 4 I got, and then I got what? 5. So what you have to understand, main thing here is, in case of this for loop, you need not increment or decrement explicitly. Depending on the range I gave, automatically I got what? It is incremented by 1. If you take a normal loops like while loop or do loop, explicitly we have to increment or decrement the iteration variable. Here the advantage of for loop is what? The increment and decrementation is automatically taken care by what? The for loop, depending on the range I give. So this is a syntax for using what? For loop. Okay. How to do it by using the loop and loop? Same thing I want to do it using loop and loop. How to do it? What is the syntax for loop and loop? Create procedure. I'll give the procedure name as something loop test. Loop underscore text. Declare. Yeah, same. Okay. Yeah, I'll declare another variable. Declare v underscore y. Sorry, v underscore y. Let me give it as what? 4. Int equal to 4. Yeah, I want to use what? Instead of using for and for, I want to use loop and loop. So I'll say loop and what? And loop. Should be spacer. Yeah, loop and loop. Done. Then here I will say select same logic. What is that? V underscore count from dummy. Select V underscore count from dummy. Then and I'll say V underscore count is equal to V underscore count plus 1. That's it. So if I execute this now, what is the result I'll get? I believe I should get what? Infinite loop. In case of for loop, what happens? Whenever this count variable comes 5, becomes greater than 5, it will come out of the for loop. But here in case of loop and loop, I need to give the explicit exit condition. Otherwise, I believe it will go for what? Infinite execution. It will go for infinite execution. So what you have to do now? Okay, let me create this procedure first. I'll say F8. Yeah, the procedure is successfully created. Let me try to call it. Call what is this? Loop underscore test. Call loop underscore test. Done. I'll try to execute this. I'll say F8. See here? What is happening? It is keeping on generating the results. I can say there is no exit condition. There is no exit condition. Okay, so I'll do one thing. Let me try to alter this procedure. Dropping, I want to alter. So I'll say alter procedure. alter procedure. Procedure name is so and so as begin. Done. What is the change I have to do? I need to write the exit condition. So what I will do here, if what? If what? V underscore count is greater than X, that is Y. If V underscore count is greater than V underscore Y, then also what? Break. So already we know break. Break will come out of the looping statement. And if that's all. Yes, that's all. Let me try to execute this part. F8. Oh, result job is running. Okay, this is executed. See, this process again executed. Fine. Yeah, this is executed. Let me try to call this. Can I call this once again? It is already running. F8. No, not allowing me. So I should stop this. How do we stop this? Let me use that key. Alt F5. Alt F5. Not working. Alt F5 is the statement for what? Stopping the normal ABAP. On the top left hand corner, you'll click and you'll say stop transaction. Here I can use Alt F5, but why is it not working? One second, better I copy that example. Alt F5 is not working. Alt F5 is a key for terminating, but it is not working here. One second. And I clicked on the restart. Oh, the entire HANA Studio itself is restarting. But Alt F5 we can use it, but I don't know why it is not working. One second. Yeah, is it audible now? Sorry. Is it audible? Is it audible now? Okay. Yeah, alter system cancel is it. That is for canceling the current session. But I'm trying to use the shortcut key Alt F5, but it is not working. I'll cross check once again why it is not working. But let me try to alter this procedure. Right. Let me try to execute this. F8. Yeah, the procedure is successfully altered. Let me try to open that now again. I'll right click on this, refresh. Done. Okay, it is. Let me double click on this and check. Is it modified? Yeah, it is modified. Okay, so you need not drop the procedure. What is the syntax? Alter procedure name. You can change the signature. You can change the business logic, but the procedure name should be what? Same. Now let me try to execute this call. What is the procedure name? Loop underscore what? Test. That's it. F8. Yes, I got the result what? Same. I got what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Working fine. So what is the issue earlier? There was no exit condition. Now we gave what? Exit condition. Whenever this value is greater than y, I am saying what? Break. Otherwise it will go for what? Infinite loop. So to stop that infinite loop, as per my knowledge, we have to say Alt F5, but it's not working. I'll cross check once again what is the shortcut key. Otherwise, I need to close that session and reopen that. I need to close that session, reopen, or you have to run a statement called as alter system cancel session. Alter, it will cancel the currently what execute operation in the current session. Okay. Right, so you have seen for, end for, loop, end loop, if and if, case statement, and while also we have discussed. Okay, so tomorrow what we'll do is we'll try to create the procedure in some other place so that we can start consuming it from what? ABAP report. Okay, so far what you are doing, we are creating the procedure directly in the SQL console. These procedures I cannot consume it from what? ABAP layer. But in the real time, what happens? The procedure should be what? Reusable. Reusable in the sense it should be reusable from the HANA database level, as well as I should be able to consume it from what? ABAP layer. So far, whatever you have done is it is reusable only at the HANA database level, not outside the HANA database. If you want to access it outside the HANA database, I need to create that procedure in some other place, and we have to store that procedure inside what? Something called a sys underscore big schema. So that is very important. We'll see that, and we can consume the procedure in two different ways. We'll discuss one of the way tomorrow and another way day after tomorrow. Okay, so far in the procedure, we have seen how to create the procedure, how to call the procedure, how to drop the procedure, how to alter the procedure, how to work with that parameters, and what else we have seen. What else? Yeah, we have seen as part of the procedure only exceptioning. Did we discuss arrays in the procedure? Arrays, I think we have not discussed. Yeah. Yeah, there is another important concept called as arrays. Okay, we don't have support for arrays in our ABAP, but just like C language, here also we have what? Arrays concept. Okay, so we'll discuss that also. Right? Any questions for today? Please ask. Alt F5 should work. I'll cross check why it is not working. Might be I need to enable that key. So I need to check it where I should enable it. But Alt F5 is a shortcut for what? Cancelling them. I need to check where I need to enable it. Yeah, any doubts you can ask me.
Yeah, Sridhar, one question regarding the length of the parameter, right? We changed from 150 to 200 by dropping the procedure. Is there any, without dropping, is there a possibility to change, modify?
Alter the procedure. Okay, same thing, alter procedure. Instead of earlier I gave 150, procedure name should be same.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so just change the length. Same syntax.
Okay.
What I did is I dropped the procedure and I recreated. Instead of dropping and recreating, just use alter command, alter procedure. The logic remains same. The parameter signature also remains same, but only the length will change. But actually in ABAP what happens is, even if the length is not sufficient, it will consider only up to that length. Suppose here I gave it as 150, at least in ABAP you will get up to 150 characters, but here it is not giving that. It is giving an error. It is giving an error signal is not sufficient. So for that I need to alter the procedure. Sharon, is it clear?
Yes, Sridhar.
Any other doubts? Acha, I gave one exercise. Anyone got chance to do that? What is that exercise I gave? Constraints. Constraints, and I gave one more exercise. What is that? Row type declaration. Anyone tried? Rambabu, Sharan, Vijay, Kishore, Sandeep, Gopidat. I gave two exercises. How to enable and disable the constraints. And another exercise I gave it is here. If you observe here, when you are giving the parameters in the procedure, we are hard coding the data type. Okay. Instead of hard coding the data type, I want to refer to the field of a table. Suppose if I am referring to department number, I should say like this: IN underscore department number. What is the table name? T department dot department number. Okay, not dot, percentage. This syntax is very much supported in Oracle database and even SQL Server, but in HANA it is not supporting. I told to try on this. This is called as percentage type declaration. Instead of hard coding the data type, if you want to refer to directly to a table field, I can do like this in case of other database. But I am unable to do it in HANA database, but definitely I am sure there is an alternative. I am checking all the documents, nowhere they are talking about this, but still I'll try from my end also, you also try. Percentage type declaration. And also how to enable and disable the constraint. In other databases we can say alter table name. I can say disable constraint name. First temporarily suspending the constraint name. But this syntax, in case of HANA database, we are able to enable and disable triggers, but not the constraints. So again, please cross check on this also. As per my knowledge, they didn't give this, but every database should have a unique features. So I don't know why it is not supported in HANA database. It is very much supported in many databases which I have used. Oracle, SQL Server, MySQL. But in HANA database it is not allowing. So if you get any inputs on this, please let me know practically how to enable and what disable the constraints. And this also percentage type declaration. In our ABAP, we can say what table name hyphen field name, or I can say directly refer to a data element so that you will get the data type and size of that particular field. That kind of provision they are not given in HANA database, but it is supported in other database. Again, here also if you get any inputs on this, let me know. Okay, so I'll wind off. Tomorrow I will try to create the procedure in a different way and we'll try to consume that procedure from what ABAP layer. Chalo then, so I'll wind up, we'll continue tomorrow.
This conference is no longer being recorded.